Yes, there we go. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. Today we have a very special guest. It's Dr. Paul Emmons. He has been giving presentations around the world, and this is, I believe, the third time with Teachers App. Before we get started, there are a couple of reminders. Number one is that we have Alexia Hernandez helping us with the webinar, so she will keep track of your messages. If you have a question, just leave it in the chat and we will make sure we will pass it to our speaker today. Also, remember that this session is being recorded. We always do that so that we can share with more people later. So once the session is over, we will put it on YouTube and then share the link through our Facebook page and Instagram. So keep an eye on that. Since we're very happy to have so many people joining the session today, we will remind you to keep your microphones muted as much as possible. That will help us have a very neat and clear presentation. So we will really appreciate that. Also, remember to complete the attendance form at the end of the session. We use it to get your name so that we can issue you your certificate later, and at the same time we use it to collect feedback so that we can improve for our future webinar sessions. E-certificates will be issued and will be sent via email 8 days after or within the next 8 days, so keep an eye on your email because you will receive that. Who's our speaker today? All right. So Dr. Paul Emmons has over 20 years of experience in global education, academic teaching, and international program administration. Dr. Emmons earned his doctorate in linguistics with concentration in speech and hearing science. He holds academic titles at the University of New Mexico in the departments of linguistics, speech and hearing science, and educational linguistics. He's the director of the university's Intensive English Center for International Students and the associate director of Global Education Office. With the goal of supporting the demands for success in internationalization efforts by institutions of higher education, he formed the global consulting platform EduPlan with his Austrian partner, Dr. Franz Schmidt, if I'm not wrong with the pronunciation, in the city of Vienna. So as you can see, we have a very well-prepared professional in the field of second language acquisition with us today. Let's welcome Dr. Paul. The floor is yours. I will stop sharing screen so that you can start.
Thank you so much, Maestro Ovidio. I will share my screen. One moment, sorry. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay, you would think I would be more expert at that after years of presenting on Zoom, but it's like I can never find the share button, which is exactly the only button that is a different color, the green color. So it must be something psychological, like I see a different color, I'm like, that's not it, and then I spend my time looking. So my dear friends, thank you so much for the invitation. Maestro Ovidio, thank you for inviting me. Dr. Vien Cao, I saw you online. Thank you for your support and your invitations in the past 2 years. So this is actually my third time doing a presentation with Teachers Up, and I'm very, very honored to be here with you. Thanks also to the U.S. Embassy in San Salvador for your support of this great organization and Universidad ESEN. And to my beautiful people in El Salvador, I love your country. I have been there 3 or 4 times and really just had a great experience in Santa Ana and San Salvador and San Miguel. So muchos santos, and yeah, I feel very blessed to have been with you in your own country, and I hope If you come to visit me in New Mexico, or you come to visit us in the United States, that my country treats you as well as your country has treated me. So thank you so much. I am very happy to present about today's topic, which was a suggestion of the Teachers Up team. And honestly, a presentation that I've just gotten really excited about as I was putting it together and trying to think of some tips that I could share with you about empowering education, practical strategies for leadership in the English classroom. This is actually a topic that I'm really interested in. And so I feel really, really just, happy to have a chance to talk about this. So I'm glad you're here. Let's get into the topic. And if you're familiar with the format of these webinars, it's really, really a great format. The first 30 minutes or so is a presentation by me, and there will be a little bit of chance for interaction via the chat. And then we move into a section where we have some breakout rooms and questions and answers and some closing notes. So it's a very, I feel, dynamic format. I like it very, very much, and I commend Teachers Up for coming up with this format, which I feel is just really conducive to our sharing and our learning. So topics for today, talking about practical strategies for leadership in the classroom. We'll start off with a few tips or a few comments about teachers as leaders, and then end with a few comments about teachers as leaders. And everything else in between are strategies for sharing leadership potential with your students to, motivate them to take on leadership roles, to work as peer mentors, to investigate about aspirational learning, which I will mention about. So we're sort of flipping a little bit the concept here and kind of pushing it towards the students, which is something I'm excited to share with you. So if that sounds okay, I will go ahead and get started with the first part of this paradigm, teachers as leaders. So this is a quote I like very much, and honestly, I'm not sure where I found it. So I can't give you the source, but I can say that I did not invent this phrase myself. I probably picked it up at a seminar myself. An opportunity to teach is an opportunity to lead. And with this quote, what does it make me feel? I feel like the position of a teacher is a privileged one. A position of a leader is also privileged. And with any great opportunity or any great privilege also comes a lot of responsibility, right? So what do I mean by this? Well, for one, we must be prepared to deliver quality each and every day. We know we're not going to be our very best on every single occasion. We're going to make mistakes. That's okay. But we do try to prepare as much as possible and to deliver our best in the classroom every time we stand up in front of our students. We also need to be willing to accept our own shortcomings or mistakes. And I have had lots of these. I've had so many, problems in the classroom over the years, trying to explain something that I really can't explain. I remember teaching a course about acoustics for the Speech and Hearing Sciences department at my university, and trying to explain the mathematics behind the acoustics. And on one occasion in particular, I just really messed it up. I couldn't explain it. I kind of forgot how to do it. I was trying to do, everything was messed up. And I said to myself, I better tell the students that I really don't know how to explain this well right now, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. And so just, doing things like this kind of approaches that we see in Failing Forward, which is a book that was written by John Maxwell many years ago, the concept of failing often, failing early, and failing forward, giving ourselves, being patient with ourselves to make mistakes, and also being patient with our students. Yeah. So as leaders in our English classroom, here's a few things that might come to mind. Part of our leadership responsibility and our teaching responsibility is to identify students' strengths and weaknesses. Without doing this, we really don't know how to begin our approach. Maybe we can't figure out our strengths and the strengths and weaknesses of our students right away. It takes a little bit of time to do that. That's okay. But as we're mixing in with our students, we're always trying to figure out, okay, what does each student know and what does each student need to learn? We also want to empower students and delegate authority. So we want to find out, okay, when there's students that have particular strengths, can we give them some leadership opportunities to help other students? For example, can they explain about an assignment? Can they explain how they're going to do or work out a kind of a problem? These kinds of things are leadership techniques that we can start to integrate into our classroom so that our students start to get the feel of being leaders themselves. All right. Of course, we are always collaborating with others. This is something that we must do as teachers. Hopefully, we get into the position where we are also mentoring other teachers, or even if we're not in a leadership role such as a mentor, can we communicate with other teachers about what are some good ideas? Will this work? Is this exercise going to be beneficial? Is there some other way that we can do this? And as we do so, we're definitely learning from others. So let's talk about some practical strategies to motivate leadership in your classroom. We're going to start with students as leaders. Maybe we don't think about students as being leaders. Maybe they're not leaders yet, but what are some ways that we can actually transfer some leadership opportunities to our students? Well, let's find out. Here's a little bit of interaction for you. I hope you will help me, dear teachers, about putting into the chat some ways in which you feel your students act as leaders in the classroom. So, for example, do you delegate tasks to students? And what kinds of tasks could you delegate? That is giving them some leadership potential. Or, for example, can student leaders assist with the attainment of learning goals for other students? So can they help others to achieve the goals? So let me just give you 30 seconds or so, and please put some comments into the chat. Okay, so I see some comments about utilizing students as tutors, helping explain math exercises to the ones who are struggling. So maybe we have a student who is better in math. We've identified that, and we've asked them to please try to explain how to figure out the problem to others. This is really great. Students giving presentations, absolutely a leadership role, okay? Delivering their own information, helping someone else, pair work, group work, excellent. I love it. So you guys have a lot of great ideas, so many, I can't read them all right now, but please keep them coming. Helping with book exercises, really great. Team leaders on projects, absolutely love it. Feel free to keep those coming. So here we go with the peer model. This is the first of 4 sort of sections that I'm going to explain, or I'm going to share some ideas about for utilizing students as leaders in the classroom. Maybe the first question we ask ourselves is, why would we want to make students leaders in the classroom? Okay. If I am the teacher, of course, I am the leader of the classroom. I am, at the end of the day, the absolute leader in the classroom. That part isn't going to go away. But why would we need any other leaders in the classroom? When and how could it be efficient or helpful for other students to be leaders in the classroom? Well, one thing that I would mention to you right away is the peer model, in which peers help each other and actually help us as the teachers along the way. For example, peers can be an ideal role model for other students. Okay, How is this possible? One way is allowing peers to enforce class norms. So, for example, how many times have you told students anything like, you need to be on time for class, or you need to be sure you have your homework completed when you arrive to class, or I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this task during the class, and you must finish on time. And each time we explain something like this, we only have partial success. The students don't listen to us completely. They think, oh, this is the teacher. He's just saying whatever. And we need to somehow either, manage the situation in the class, potentially have to discipline students. And it puts us in the position of like the enforcer, right? We're like the policeman or the policewoman. And if we explain to our students, hey, please help me enforce our class norms. Tell other students that they should be on time. Tell other students that they need to keep to the time limits. When peers, the student to student peers, start to enforce the rules of the classroom, suddenly we don't have to be the police person all the time, right? We can allow the other students to help a little bit with that. And this is something that can come naturally. We can encourage others, we can encourage students and the class as the whole to reinforce these ideas with other students, but we will also see it happening organically, as in students just start doing it on their own. And when we see it, this is great because it just took some of that responsibility off of us. Another idea, inviting past students to describe what they are doing at a higher grade level. So if you are teaching, for example, an English language class, as I know you are English language teachers, or you are studying to become language teachers and you're probably practicing in the classroom, invite students in. If you're teaching an intermediate level class, invite students who have been through your class already or through the intermediate class and now are in the advanced class, and have those students come in and explain in English to your students, okay, how was this class helpful to them? How are they using what they've learned in your class at higher English class levels or in other courses where English is used or in other contexts where English is used? This is really a great way for peers to model to each other where they can go with hard work and dedication to their studies. Another idea, encouraging students to describe what they would like to be when they grow up, right? This is something we love to say in English. At least we love to say it in the United States. Every parent says to their child, what would you like to be when you grow up? Okay, so when you finish school and you go get a job, what are you going to do? Well, how about asking students to do that in the classroom and then asking the peers to give input about this? It could be about their career options. It could be about their study options. At the end of the day, it's related to the concept of goal orientation, which is very powerful in motivating students to be successful, to obtain their goals, and so on. And finally, we could invite members of the community to present about their own ideas, their own areas of expertise, their life opportunities. I have that opportunity right now, and I'm very, very honored to be with you to share some of my ideas. For example, how has their education been helpful? How has learning another language, such as English, or in my case, Spanish, I learned your language. I speak it now every single day. I married a Venezuelan 26 years ago. So in the house, she's like, if she knows that somebody speaks Spanish, forget about it. She's never going to talk to them in English. Okay. This is just the way she is. So how has learning another language been helpful? How has learning math been helpful in everyday life? We can even think a little bit about how can we develop short or medium or long-term goals? I was actually with our colleagues from the US Embassy in Mexico City all morning, and I will be with them all day tomorrow. We are interviewing students who would like to come to our university, the University of New Mexico, to be part of a program which is called the Institute for Community Identity and Leadership. There were 200 applications for this program. We're interviewing 25. Well, we read through 100 of them after they were reduced. We're interviewing 25 and selecting 14. One of the questions that's in that interview is, describe to us about your short and medium and long-term goals. The idea is, have you thought about it? Have you thought how this experience in this institute would be helpful for you in the long term or even immediately? What will you do with the information that you learn while you're in our program? How will you implement this back in your communities? Okay, lots of ideas that we can share, and inviting either peers who have just gone a little bit farther forward or even older people in the community. This can be very, very interesting for our students. So this peer model, just to conclude, allows for information to be shared from a source that is closer in age and experience to the current students. They might listen to these peers more than they listen to us as the teachers. It happens with our own kids. Any of you who have children, you know all about this. They don't listen to the parents anymore. They just listen to their friends. Okay, that's fine. Well, not always. Second, peer mentoring. Okay, how can we put the peers into mentoring or tutoring positions, which, by the way, is something I noticed coming through the chat, which is really great comments. Okay, well, let's think about this first. Just a few minutes ago, I was mentioning about how, as teachers, it's important for us to identify the strengths and weaknesses of our students. This comes back to the concept of mixed abilities and multiple intelligences. Okay, we know we have a mixture of students in the classroom, so much so that from one term to the next, or even from one class to the next, class as in, I mean, students in particular courses, what we've created to use to teach our students might not work so well because our audience, our students, are not the same as they were last semester or last term, okay? So we know we have a variety of students and we have a mixture of abilities. We know that a student might be weak in one area, maybe language, but strong in another area like math. Okay, so if that's true, maybe we're teaching about some, solving math problems in our English class, right? Well, can we start to pair up those abilities so that somebody who's good at math, but maybe not so good at English, works somebody who's strong in English, and they help each other to develop these concepts and share that with the class, okay? Helping the teacher get this part of the job done. And then lots of ideas about mindset. So probably you've heard about this before. Moving from a fixed mindset where students, they love to say this, I'm not good at ... I'm not good at math, I'm not good at language, I'm not good at science. Okay, we need to move them out of that fixed mindset into a growth mindset, such as, how can I figure out this problem? I'm not good at math yet. I'm not good at English yet, but I'm going to get there. I will never forget when I first started teaching, and by the way, my idea was never to be a Spanish teacher, but I had the opportunity to become a Spanish teacher at my university while I was in graduate school. And the head of the linguistics department said, Paul, we don't have any work opportunities for you in the linguistics department this term, but they do need Spanish teachers, and we know that you can speak Spanish. Okay, I guess good enough. So would you like to teach the beginning Spanish course? Okay, Spanish, we used to call it Spanish 101. It was like the most basic course, right? Level 1. And the first thought was, no, that's scary. And of course, I don't want to try that. Okay, but my real answer was, yes, of course, because I knew that I needed to, okay, A, get some experience, B, make some money, and C, I didn't want to upset my professor by saying no. So I said I would go ahead and do it. Well, guess what? And this is just a little story for you. In the very first class, there's a young man sitting towards the front of the classroom, kind of in the corner, and he did not look happy. In fact, he just looked mad. He just was not happy to be there. I thought, oh, what in the world is going on here? Well, I found out that he had taken the class last semester and he didn't pass. He failed the class and he was forced to be in there again. He was not happy about this. And all I could think about was, oh my gosh, this student is going to be a problem. He's going to make my life miserable. He didn't learn before. How will he learn now? Actually, I was in a complete fixed mindset. I had to move myself into a growth mindset by thinking, okay, this is a new opportunity for the student. We're going to go little by little. And by the way, at my university, we're not allowed to speak any English in the Spanish classroom, right? We are only allowed to speak in Spanish, and they're very strict about that. So we go little by little, we learn some simple phrases. And this is a true story. At the start of the class, the only thing he could say was, no hablo español, with even a funnier accent than mine. And at the end of the class, he said, yo hablo español. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a revelation, right? It's just incredible, right? What we can do by being patient, by giving opportunities, by giving chances for learning. So really cool stuff there. Okay, but back to the peer mentoring. By identifying the strengths of the students and we pair them up with other students who need assistance, what do we gain from this? Well, for one, we allow students to take on a leadership role. They can become tutors and mentors on their own, and they can grow and improve their own skills by explaining what they know. It helps reinforce it in their own mind. It helps deepen their understanding, and we know absolutely that this is a successful technique. All right, and now I'm going to rather finish up the section with student leadership with the concept of aspirational learning. So maybe you wonder, what is aspirational learning? Well, I would like to invite you to enter your comments into the chat. Aspirational learning is related to the goals or aspirations of students. It's related to goal orientation. So take a look at these questions here. You don't need to answer every single one of them in the chat. Maybe just pick one and put in a comment if you would like into the chat box. What are the aspirations of your students? And maybe more importantly, how do you know the aspirations of your students? How can you know what they want to do? What are their goals? Okay. Second question for consideration. What do your students need to reach their goals? We're going to find out that that's the key to aspirational learning. How can you, as their teacher, help to make that happen? So how can we, as teachers, help our students reach our goals? No, sorry, we reach their goals, not our goals. How can students reach their goals with our help? And another point of consideration is, how do you manage situations in which aspirations may not match realistic possibilities? Or the aspiration of the student, okay, anything is possible, but they want to become an astronaut, and we know that an extremely small number of people actually can become an astronaut, right? It's a very highly selected process. It has a lot of physical demands, it has emotional demands, and so on and so forth. Maybe you identify in the student that they might not have all those characteristics, okay? They want to be a professional athlete, whatever. You might find times where the student, you kind of feel they're not going to get there. So how can we manage about this? Are there ways that we can move students towards their goals, but perhaps frame goals within expectations that are quite realistic? So let's talk a little bit about these ideas. All right. So the first thing I would like to mention is, how do we know what our students want in the first place? A great way to do that is by asking your students questions such as, what do you want to do? This is an English classroom. We're going to learn the English language. What do you want to do with that? How will learning English be helpful for you? Sometimes students will say, I don't want to learn English. I'm only here because I have to be. And that's a reality of our lives as teachers. There's always going to be some students like that. And one option for us would be to say, okay, fine, I'm kind of done with you. You're just going to have to suffer through this. Another better option would be, okay, well, let's think about some ways how in real life English could be potentially helpful. And let's be patient and figure out if this will actually be a good thing for you. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah. Once we know this, we can start to work backwards, which for us as teachers sometimes is a very strange concept because we're always thinking about moving forward, right? We want to, like in the photo, the little diagram I have for you, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, we always want to be moving in that forward direction. But with aspirational learning, we're actually working backwards. What does your student need to get there? Okay. I'm sure you have had this experience, or if you haven't, you will, where the student comes into your office or your office hour, or they talk to you at the end of the class, or they see you in the hallway, or they see you out around the school or your campus, and they say, dear teacher, what classes should I take? And which major should I choose? And what is my best course selection for next semester? This has happened to me so many times I can't count all of them. And I always return their question with a question of my own, which is, what do you want to do? Okay. What is your goal in life? What is your dream job? Where would you like to be 5 years from now? Asking them these kinds of questions from our own position as leaders, right, as people who orient them to their options, and let our students give us their input, okay? So once I find out that my student wants to become a college professor, I can say, well, in order to become a college professor, you need a degree in ... whatever it's going to be, right? You want to be, the president of your university. You want to be the president of your country. Maybe we don't have all of the information to actually, give them very specifically, this is what you want to do. But at my university, if a student says, well, I would like to be a professor at a university in the United States in the mathematics department, I say, well, you need to get a PhD in mathematics. There is no other way. You have to have a doctorate degree. It has to be in the area of your concentration. So let's plan the course, right? But if they say, well, I want to do something else, right? I want to be, the lead accountant at my bank. Okay, probably you don't need a PhD in accounting to do that. You can get a master's in accounting. You can do whatever, right? So we can kind of figure that out. By asking these kinds of questions, we develop aspirational learning in our students by allowing them to ask themselves about where they want to go. And by doing so, we empower them to dream, to set their own goals, and ultimately to take some ownership for their own learning and their own future. So very powerful stuff here. We're developing, again, the leadership of our own students in their own lives, and ourselves as leaders and as supporters for the students, we are helping them to get there. All right. So in just a couple of minutes, we're going to move into a discussion session where you're going to have approximately 8 minutes to answer some questions that I have developed for you. But before we go there, I want you to please remember one thing, or at least consider one thing. This comes from a book called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. He's actually the same author who wrote Start With Why and a couple others, right? Best-selling authors. Very, very thought-provoking book. Eaters Eat Last. What does this mean? Okay, well, at the end of the day, it means to put your team, if these are your students or your athletes or your employees, put them first. Let me ask you this. How many times have you seen leaders in the community at the start of the line? Okay, it's for the buffet dinner, it's for an entrance to an event, it's the first person to sit down at the table. And then I would ask, why are we doing this backwards? Okay, we are not doing it, but why are others doing this, what I would consider backwards? Yes, leaders have an elevated position due to their experience and their achievements, but perhaps we should be thinking of leaders to be paying forward, to act as role models for future leaders and model to our teams how we can put our team members and ultimately the community first. Because without the team, without our teams, we're not leaders anymore, right? It's just the leadership goes away because we have nobody to lead. So as leaders, we can show respect by allowing others to be first, by allowing our students to take on leadership roles in the classroom. We allow our subjects, our students to grow, to develop on their own, and hopefully, ultimately, to do bigger and better things than even we're doing. It's something that we do as parents. It's something that we do as teachers. We always want to see our children, our students, our peers, our colleagues, we want to see them succeed. So really interesting book here by Simon Sinek. If you are interested in this subject, I recommend it to you highly. Start with Why is another really thought-provoking book about, starting with the question, why do you want to do whatever that is? All right. So Maestro Ovidio, I've come to the part for the breakout discussion. And these are some questions that I have thought of for our group. So as you're broken into your breakout rooms, perhaps you can think about some of the points that we've discussed so far, such as what are the aspirations of your students and how can you help them achieve their goals? Or which points from our session today would you like to implement in your classroom? That's always my favorite question. I ask it at every single talk. Okay, how will you do it? And what other techniques can you implement to motivate teachers and students to become leaders in the classroom? I'm
Yeah.
wondering if I can copy paste these, Ovidio, into the chat so that our participants can. Oh, Alexia, you
Yeah.
are really smart. You've done that already. Brilliant move.
Yes, well, thank you so much. Well, breakout rooms are ready, and what we usually do is that we broadcast the questions one by one. Remember that we have about 7 to 8 minutes to discuss them, so we will give like 3 minutes per question. You had to be very quick in developing these points. Remember that if we have 6 people in each of the rooms, you had to go for your turn and share with the whole audience. So we will put people into breakout rooms now. You should be able to see a message on your screen in a couple of minutes. So just go ahead and join the breakout room, and we will be broadcasting the questions very soon. Keep recording. Yes, the breakout rooms have already closed. Thank you so much for all your participation. I hope you had enough time to go through all the questions. And if you didn't and you still have a question now, you can ask it directly to our presenter today. Yeah, everybody's back. Dr. Paul.
Thank you so much. Well, participants, again, it's really been my pleasure to spend this hour with you, and we do still have about 5 or 6 minutes for questions. So if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to unmute your microphone and ask, or if you prefer, you can put it into the chat, and then we can answer any questions or give comments. It doesn't have to be a question. It could be your own
Okay, I have
comment.
a question. Is the same aspiration as motivation?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you clearly.
The question is, I'm sorry, is it
Is
motivation the
the
same
same
than aspiration?
aspiration? Yes, that's the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, No, I don't think it's the same. They're not synonymous. Aspiration is really I would make it more of a synonym with a goal, right? Something that you would like to obtain. Having motivation is very helpful to meet the goal or to make your aspiration. Certainly having motivation to do it will help you do it in a more pleasant manner and more quickly. But there are times that we can meet our goals even when we're not motivated. So no, I don't feel that they are the same thing. Patricia, you have your hand up, or was that Patricia?
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry. I think she's connected in two devices. Maybe Patricia, you write it down the question in the chat box. Okay, now yes. Well,
Perfect.
what I would like to do is maybe to share some of my experiences about it. And I had the opportunity by listening to the person who's talking to us. And I discussed with the other group I was there. And I told them that nowadays the students, they don't want to study anything. They don't care anything. And they maybe go to school because their parents force them by going, or they go because they love playing or inventing whatever. But as teachers, we have a big challenge. And what is that? We need to try to understand them, that they can do everything and they have to fight for everything, because the way that they can do it or they do it, they will get everything they wanted. And as you said, there are different kind of skills, and every one of the students, they have um, their ability, whatever subjects they want to study. And but it's necessary to tell them that they have to study whatever subjects we have, because in our country, in tercer ciclo, for example, there are 5 subjects, and they have to fight for all of them. And in the classroom, what we can do is, as you know, there are different kind of students. There are some that they love studying, they love participating in the class, they work in everything, and we used to make tutors. And those tutors can help you to participate with others and try to make them understand or work easy or faster. That's what I
And
want to.
that is really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes. Dr. Paul, there is one over there that says, how do we motivate people who just want to pass? So they're in the classroom for the grade and not for learning.
Great question. And there's definitely students like this, and there's students that like Patricia mentions that maybe they say they don't want to learn, right? It's like asking our kids, I have 2 daughters. I keep talking about my kids, right? I have 2 daughters, they're 16 and 21 years old, and one's in the university and one's in high school. So the high schooler's still here at home, and I say, what did you learn today? And she says, nothing. Okay. It's like, really? But this is to the question about how do we motivate students who just want to pass. We can maybe use the same technique, like saying, oh, really? You didn't learn anything today? Well, tell me a little bit about your day. Like, what did you actually do today? Next thing we know, they're actually talking to us about what they learned, because they actually did learn something. And when students say that they don't want to learn, well, maybe they're just not connected with materials that are so interesting to them, or we need to find other ways to make them interested. For the students who just want to pass, we can try to elevate their interest or elevate their motivation by connecting them with subjects that they're interested in. Okay, so if we need to talk about social sciences, if we need to talk about whatever the subject is, ask them if they have some sort of interest in this area, right? It might not be exactly aligned with our curriculum, but perhaps we can integrate it in a way that we are showing real world, utilization of these topics. And I think that by doing that, by connecting with our students, by asking them who they are, what they want to do, what they're interested in. And even when they say nothing, we just keep, very patiently asking them for some more information. We can connect their interests that they do have. They do have interests in there somewhere, and connect them and help them, develop those. So that's my recommendation for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because of the time, I just want to say thank you so much, Margarita de Menjivar, also Silvia, Araquino, Silvia again for the questions that they are in our chat right now, but because of the time, we will not be able to go through all of them. Later, Dr. Paul will share with you his email account in case you want to contact him directly. But because of the time, we really need to stop over here. So, Dr. Paul, I would like to share screen. So,
Yes.
just
Yes. So let me stop sharing.
all right.
Okay.
Here we go. All right. Before we finish today, this session, on behalf of the Teachers App Initiative, we want to say thank you so much, Dr. Paul, for your time, for putting all this presentation together. It is really an honor to have you with us for the third time as a presenter in the Teachers App Initiative.
Thank you so much, Maestro Ovidio, and really, Teachers Up. I congratulate you. Thank you so much for being with me, for giving me the opportunity to be with you, and I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much. Before we leave today, please do not forget to complete the attendance form. Alexia will be sharing that in the chat in just a couple of seconds. Remember that the attendance and evaluation form is really important for us. Number one, because we collect your name so that we can issue you your certificates, and also because we really want to improve. There is always room for improvement, and based on your comments, we can better plan our next sessions. The e-certificates will be ready for you in about 8 days. So please keep an eye on your email because you will receive your e-certificate if you complete the attendance form. Also check on our social media. We keep posting things that we're doing, announcements for scholarship opportunities. So don't miss that. One of the special announcements is that we are about to start our English for Tourism component. So if you would like to join, you can find information on our website and also on our Facebook and Instagram. If you do not follow us yet, do so that you do not miss important announcements. Also, this is what we have been dreaming of since the very beginning of Teachers App. So we are going to get the Teachers App to you. We will get it close to you. So we have 2 sessions, 2 mini conferences, one in Santa Ana and another in San Miguel in person, and they are happening very, very soon. So stay tuned for more information. Also remember that we are missing one last webinar of the first module, and this is going to take place on June 4th. This is titled Going Beyond the Textbook, Generating Authentic Tasks for English Language Learners. We will look for another specialist with great experience as Dr. Paul so that we all get to learn from them. Thank you so much for making the time for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And now it's time for some pictures. So I will stop sharing screen and maybe Alex can help us with that.
Yes, definitely. And this is an invitation for you guys to open your camera and see your faces. We need to see all your faces because we need a great picture of you. Okay, I see some faces, familiar faces over there. We are happy to have you here. Okay, we're going to start with the first screen. Okay,